Greetings and welcome back to Behind the Curtain Podcast, the show where we ask for insight about topics we think we know everything about, but don't. I am your host, Andy Ortiz. Today's episode is titled, Miss Sandoval Goes to Washington, where we have counted all of our ballots twice, elected our guest for today's show, and we welcome Councilwoman Claudia Sandoval. Claudia, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it took a little bit of a while of getting your schedule down, but you're here with us today, and we're very grateful. You excited?
I am,
All
yeah.
right. Well, let's get started. So, like with every great story, we begin at the beginning. Claudia, where were you born?
I was born in Dallas.
Dallas, Texas?
Dallas, Texas.
For those of you who are listening, you're councilwoman for the city of Crocker Hill. Could you describe how big Crocker Hill is?
Yeah, sure. And Crocker Hill is just 10 minutes west of downtown Dallas, completely enclosed by the city of Dallas. Crocker Hill itself is 1 mile squared, so it's pretty small.
Yes.
With a population of around 4,500.
4,500. Oh, that's a small town. Do you know everybody?
No.
No?
I know more people now,
Okay.
but no, I don't know
It's not
everybody.
like The Simpsons where like, oh, hey, someone just comes in from like the back of your house and you're like, hey, neighbor, or...
I mean, we know everybody in our neighborhood for the most part, but in different parts of the city, we don't know everybody.
All right. What's your earliest memory of living in Crocker Hill?
I think walking to the playground with my mom and my aunts. Like, whenever they would come over, we would just... There's a playground that's about 2 blocks away from my house that we would walk to. And then, but there was only like a slide and one other
Jungle gym equipment?
Yeah. So there was another playground maybe 10 blocks further down. So we would go to that one for a little bit, get bored, and then we'd walk all the way to the other one.
Has that changed now?
It has, actually. Recently, we received a grant from an organization called Kaboom, and they donated a playground. So we have a whole new playground that's a lot better than the one that I had growing up.
So someone has a new opportunity to make new memories.
Yes.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your mom. Who are your parents, and what's their occupation in life?
Yeah, my parents are Mexican immigrants from Jalisco and Michoacan. My dad actually passed away when I was 3, and my stepdad is from El Salvador. So my mom is a housekeeper in Highland Park, and my dad drives 18-wheelers. So,
what values did they pass on to you that is carrying you today?
Sorry, I'm gonna get a little bit emotional.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you want to just take a break?
I'm good. Yeah. Okay. I think hard work is definitely one of the biggest things that they've passed on to me.
Yeah.
They're some of the hardest working people that I know, and that's something, if I've gotten from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on I want to know a little about your high school. Were you involved in any organizations while you were in high school?
Yes. I was involved in it was sort of a cultural exchange program called Pan American Student Forum, where we would go to convention in San Antonio and really just promote and learn about Latino culture and just the diversity within our culture, as well as LULAC.
Okay. Did you get to travel with the Pan America? Just to San Antonio?
Just to San Antonio.
Okay. What was the environment there like? So you said other cultures of Latino descent, but so what other countries were there?
So it was really just the different councils at the high schools, and every year there was a different theme. So one theme that I remember was Mujeres Panamericanas. So
women in Pan America.
Yeah, Latin American women, and the diversity of women.
Is that still going on today? Do you know?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Something that I've always wanted to ask you is, at that age, what inspired you? Who were your heroes at that time? What did 15-year-old Claudia aspire to be?
All I remember is wanting to be an engineer.
Okay.
Because that's what my dad always wanted to do. But before he came here in El Salvador, he studied engineering for a little bit.
Okay.
So that's what I remember. And then the 2006 walkouts happened.
Yes.
And I
did you
was
walk out?
involved in that.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember the day we were walking out. I found out in the morning and I called my mom and I was like, "Hey mom, I'm going to walk out just to let you know I'm leaving school. We're marching to Keys Park." And she's like, "Okay, just be safe.
Yeah.
Like, just be careful." I'm like, "Okay."
Do you remember how many students were at your high school who went?
I would say at least a good 300.
Yeah. That's a good change.
And we met up with students from another high school that was
Right.
on the way, Adamson. And so we marched with Adamson and then met Molina and Sunset students at Keys Park and Oak Cliff.
Nice community event. So that 15-year-old girl, Claudia, did that change when you went to college? Were you still the same person, or was there still that part of you that was still there, 15-year-old Claudia, and then you just added all these different layers?
Yeah, I think I would say I just added more layers for the most part. I was an engineering major with no intention of switching into politics, but I was always very involved in LULAC, on the student council. I interned for State Representative Rafael Anchia without really knowing why, just knowing that I was interested and it was something that I enjoyed doing.
The opportunity came up and you're like, I have to take this.
Yeah.
Could you call it destiny maybe?
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe now that you have the opportunity to look back on it?
Yeah, it's definitely like you look back and it's kind of like a puzzle and you see where things fit in.
Is that scary? Just like, oh.
No, I think it's cool to be able to reflect and see why things happen.
Right. Why those puzzle pieces fall into place.
Yeah.
Something that I know about you from college is that you co-authored a bill. Was this your first one?
It was not my first one. It was my second one. But I think it is the most important one.
Yes.
That I co-authored, and it was in support of the DREAM Act.
Who did you co-author that bill with?
With Alejandra Aguirre,
Okay.
one of my good friends from SMU.
Yes.
And it was at a time when Dreamers were receiving a lot of attention, and there was a threat to repeal in-state tuition for Dreamers. And so just in support of that community, of our community, we wrote that piece.
How long did that take you to write?
A few weeks.
A few weeks?
I think. I don't recall very clearly.
Did you do a lot of research or?
We did, and there had also been, I think, a few other pieces written at other universities that we looked at as well.
How did you approach writing it? The intent was to help people, but were you overwhelmed with that, or did you have that hardworking passion to get you through?
No, I mean, I think it was something that Ale and I both cared about, and we knew we wanted to do it, so we did it.
And what was the fate of the bill? What happened to it?
It passed.
Yes.
And so that just became a sign from the SMU Student Senate that we stand with Dreamers.
Yes.
And as SMU, we stand with other students at these different universities. I remember at Texas A&M, there was a lot going on with the issue. So it was something that we were able to show even our peers at these other colleges that, we understand what you're going through and we stand with you.
Okay. So is it still in effect? Like, is it still part of the student body?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have that frame somewhere in your house, or like, did you print it out and you're like, put it on your fridge, or?
I actually don't, but now I wish I did.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll go print it out.
Yeah,
and
you
hang
should.
it up somewhere.
You should, yeah. Like, if you have an office or like your room, just that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll get you a nice little wooden one.
Thank you.
All right. So now I want to ask your evolution from engineer to city councilwoman. When did that opportunity first to come up for you?
I decided sometime I started attending the council meetings right after I graduated SMU in 2013, and I had time in the afternoons. Started going to the meetings and just realized that it was something that I could do and wanted to do. I think there's a lot of opportunity in Cockrell Hill for some positive changes to come, and just thought that I could help with that. So,
who did you first tell when you were thinking about, hey, I think I want to run for city council?
I think it was my parents.
Yeah? What was the reaction?
They were very hesitant of me doing it because they've just seen firsthand the backlash that politicians can get.
Yes.
And so that was a real concern for my mom and my dad. But eventually, once we actually launched the campaign and they saw the support that was coming in from our neighbors, from different people in the community, they also became excited for it and were encouraging. So, I mean, they were always supportive, but went from being hesitant to just happy and excited about it.
Do you think that hesitation was because of maybe the scale of such a small little town, or was it just a generalization for politicians?
More of a generalization, yeah.
Okay. Especially nowadays, if you're a politician, you're in the public eye and something's said and it's taken out of context. So, I never thought about, when I first found out that you were running, I didn't really think about that. But your parents did, because I understand that your parents are looking out for you. I just wanted to be as supportive as I could. Like, oh yeah, look, Claudia's going to do this. She's going to do so. I didn't really think about the consequences. But hey, it's past. You've made it there. Okay, so since it's such a small town, it's not a full-time gig, is it?
No, it's part-time volunteer.
So how do you balance having your regular work life and the council?
Yeah, so I work usually 8 to 5, 9 to 5, and my council meetings are in the evenings. And if I ever have an event that's during the day that I would need to attend, thankfully my job knows about my position and they're supportive and flexible whenever I need them to be. So really I have a great community supporting me.
How often do you meet then?
We meet every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, hey, every month, every week at least, but it's flexible enough to...
Yeah, sometimes we do have special meetings, or we have to cancel one meeting and move it to another week. So we have to change our schedules, but for the most part, it's something that I can plan ahead and just make time for it.
Okay. So in my mind, you're a bit of a local celebrity. We've spoken about how a bit of the backlash about being a politician nowadays, but has that thought occurred to you that you're now a little local celebrity here in Dallas?
I wouldn't call myself that.
No.
But it's funny, I was just mentioning this, that recently at different events, I've had people mention like, oh, I've been wanting to meet you, or I've heard a lot about you, and that is always weird to me, just because that's
because you don't know them, but they know you, and you're like,
yeah,
help
and
me cross this bridge.
It's still weird to me, but I don't consider myself a local celebrity.
No, I do. You should talk to my mom. Like, oh look, there's. I think you were recently on the news.
Yeah.
And then my mom was like, oh look, it's Claudia, And then I was like, yeah, I know, I saw it because I knew it was gonna happen. But she was really excited for it. So like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So now, when you were running for office, how much of your motivation to run, was it because you wanted to do it, or was it because in service of others?
No, definitely think it was more so because of the need that I saw in the community and how I could see my strengths play into it. Because there are other members in our community that I would love to see run, and it's not if they were better candidates than me, if they had better ideas than me, I would give up my spot.
Okay.
For them. It's really about getting Cockrell Hill to be in a better place.
Taking that first step into something greater. So a lot is riding on your shoulders, huh?
I don't know. I guess so. I mean, I don't.
Well, you're a new breed, no? Are you? I would guess you're the youngest on the council.
I am the youngest on the council, and I think when I went to my orientation with our city manager, he said, I'm so excited I haven't had to do an orientation in 10 years because it's always typically the same people. So I think more than anything for me, it's also about letting those other young leaders in Cockrell Hill know that you can do this and it's attainable. There are already people making differences in Cockrell Hill in other ways.
How so?
There's one of my neighbors, Melinda Galvan, who started the Cockrell Hill Beautification Association, which is a nonprofit that is dedicated to beautifying Cockrell Hill.
Yeah.
And those are the type of people that we need on the council, making decisions that affect all the residents, that create laws. And she's already doing something good, but she could have an even bigger impact. And so my hope is that after this, she and other people will be motivated to get involved at the council level as well.
How long is your term?
It's 2 years.
It's 2 years? Okay.
Yeah. So I was sworn in May of this year, and my term will be up in May of 2018.
Okay. So for those of you who are listening, you have about 1.5 years left to get your horses ready, step up, and because...
Well, we actually in Cockrell Hill have elections every year.
Okay.
So our council is split, and the first 3 seats are elected every even year, and the last 3 every odd year.
Okay. So this was an even year this year?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me rephrase that. For those of you who are thinking about running, you have less than 1 year now to get your stuff straight.
And I'm happy to help however I can.
So, okay, moving on. When you're driving home from work and you see Cockrell Hill, do you have hope for your town, or do you get worried?
No, there's definitely always hope. I think, we have Cockrell Hill is 85% Latino, and a lot of young families. My family was once upon a time one of those. Okay. So they bought our house when I was 9 months old. My sister was maybe 2. So we both grew up in the community, and now I'm involved in this capacity, right. And I think there are others who will eventually try to get involved in the same way. I remember door knocking, which you helped with.
Yes, I did.
But I remember knocking on the door, and there was a 17-year-old guy who was from Cockrell Hill, and he started asking me questions about streets and about programs. So he has ideas. People in our community have ideas. I think the issue is giving them the platform to voice them, and educating them on the process.
How to do it, That's it's very interesting in that you mentioned your parents, how they were once the young kids on the street, and then time came by, they planted a seed. That seed is you. You've grown up now, and so now it is your turn to
give
plant
back
the seed and keep that going. And you noticed that there's a 17-year-old boy. Is there more of them?
Definitely.
Or do you have to go and find them?
No, well, even with the new playground that we had donated, we had volunteers from the community come out. And I think just having them see, that things are happening, that things can change with the help of your community, I think that is bringing more people out. We've started to see more and more of our residents attend our council meetings, which is one thing that we really wanted, something that I've been advocating and trying to promote. So hopefully we start seeing more of our young residents and even students attend, just so they can become aware of the issues that the city is discussing and taking action on. But there's definitely hope, and we're going in the right direction.
Oh, that's very great to hear. Through all of this experience, what has kept you honest?
I'd say definitely my faith, my family, and my friends, having people who know me and who know what I stand for, and being able to encourage me and also challenge me, I think is really important, because I don't know everything. And I think it is important to have those people who are going to question you on decisions that you're making. Constructively, yeah, and just challenge you and say, did you think about this? What about, this point of view? So all of that.
Yeah. Do you have a philosophy in all that? Is something...
I don't like...
Is there something that you repeat yourself every day? Or you mentioned your faith. Is there something that you say to yourself to lift your spirits up? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, one of my favorite verses from scripture is from 2 Timothy, "For God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline."
Yeah.
That's something that always kind of motivates me when, sorry, I'm getting emotional
that's
again.
Fine. You're fine.
Anytime I think that there's hesitation on my part, or I'm uncertain of something, that just helps me refocus and just kind of not be afraid to move forward. So it's ultimately in God's hands, right? So I can just try to do what I think is His will, and the outcome is always in His hands. So.
Yeah. How often are you afraid? I'm afraid every day. I'm a coward, so.
I think that helps me not to be afraid, but we were talking earlier and saying how yesterday Mexico and the U.S. had their soccer game, their first World Cup qualifier, and I was wearing my Mexico jersey, and it's the first time ever, I think, that I felt nervous walking around in a Mexico jersey, and that's not something that ever happens to me. And it was for just a few minutes, and then I was like, wait a minute, no, like, I shouldn't be afraid. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
I think typically I'm just, I feel safe and confident in that God is always with me, and that fear is not of God. So that's not something that I try to...
You're able to look at it and use it to propel you to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're using what you have and turning it into something good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do things out of faith, not out of fear.
Okay. Oh, I like that. I do things out of faith, not out of fear. Cool. I'm gonna write that down somewhere and put that frame that next to your the bill. We'll get you a little frame. We'll have that engraved in there. Okay. There was one thing I do want to ask you about being in local government. What's the challenge? Is it coming up with ideas to improve your community, or is it working with others?
I think it's the ideas, mainly because we are limited on resources. So coming up with ideas that are feasible for the community is a little bit more difficult because you can have great ideas, but what's the reality that you can implement them and sustain it?
Okay.
That's harder. Thankfully, the council has been very open, welcoming, and just in general wanting the new ideas.
Right.
But it's a matter of
Executing them.
exactly. Otherwise, anyone can come up with great ideas, but what are you going to do with it?
Execute them. Okay.
Yeah.
What I know about you recently is that you've been doing a lot of traveling. Where did that start? When did you catch the travel bug?
I think I've always enjoyed traveling since we were little. We grew up going to Mexico, spending our summers in Mexico with our family who still lives there. But my traveling picked up, I think, as soon as I started working and was able to just afford to travel on my own and with friends. And through my previous job, I was traveling a lot for work and just took advantage of already being in a different city to explore either that city or travel somewhere nearby. But I've always loved to travel and just meet new people, explore different places.
What's the farthest you've gone? Like
Europe and North Africa.
North Africa? What'd you do in North Africa?
I went as part of a ministry.
Okay. To help out and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the climate there? What stood out to you about?
Well, we were in...
How was the food? That's probably what I really want to get into.
We were there during... we were in a Muslim country, and it was actually during Ramadan that we were there. Oh. So a lot of the food that we had was the same food that the families broke fast with.
Okay.
So I remember the dates, a tomato soup that with boiled eggs that was delicious. It tasted like fideo.
Okay, the thin pasta.
Yes, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but a lot of sweets, rose water. It was all great food.
Okay. So in these travels, what perspective have you gained?
Just honestly how similar we are as people, regardless of race, faith even. Yeah. People have the same needs across the world. And that I think the more you travel, the more that becomes a reality. Oh. And you realize that. So.
Wow, I like that. Right. So being in the spotlight recently with your traveling and being in city council, did you discover any secret talents that you had that, oh, hey, I can balance 10 books on one hand and type a paper with my left hand? I don't know.
Well, I've gotten pretty good at traveling. When I'm in the airports, I pretty much know what to do. But I think something
that's a great skill because people aren't on time. People are always late and they're rushing to get to catch a plane.
Yeah, I kind of know how to deal with that. But I think something that's a little bit more substantial that I've realized is that I'm a pretty good listener and can synthesize different people's ideas to come to conclusions, which is something that's obviously very helpful on council is, when you're discussing what you want to do, for example, with something that we're dealing in Cockrell Hill right now is parking commercial vehicles on private property, just listening to the different opinions and being able to try to present the best solution that's going to benefit the largest group of people.
Taking everybody into account. And usually people have some great stories to tell. No, you just gonna have to take a bit of your time and just listen.
Yeah.
That's I think one of the aspects of what we're trying to do here is just tell great stories. Because people are out there and they have great stories to tell. Right. So listening.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Is there a dimension of yourself that you're constantly trying to improve? at your age?
I think just working on living out my faith every day through everything that I do is something that I try to always keep in the back of my mind. You know, how can I do this today? How can I do this in this meeting? How can I do this, you know, in this conversation?
Ooh. Have you figured that out right now in the past 30 minutes that we've been doing this? Or
I don't know. Maybe
don't
you
know?
tell me.
Maybe you? Okay. I have to. No, it's you. Okay. I want to throw out a little hypothetical to you.
Mm-hmm.
You had all the money in the world and you could construct any type of building. What type of building would that be? Or has that already been, or does that already exist somewhere in your life?
I would build probably an orphanage, which they already exist, but having volunteered in one, I mean, there's just a great need, right, to help those people.
Yeah.
Who, especially kids, who can't help themselves. So that's something I think that I would build.
Okay. And you have that, I mean, so you mentioned orphans. What is it about an orphan that makes you move?
I mean, they're kids and they aren't able to make decisions for themselves and to help themselves, really.
Yeah.
So just being able to provide a sanctuary for them.
Oh, that's very noble of you. Hopefully, will there be an orphanage with your name on it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've only experienced it once, and it's definitely something that just has always stuck with me. Is how beautiful the kids are and just the need for love with them.
And you've carried that for how long? Can you pinpoint that?
Since the experience that I had volunteering in one was in 2013.
Okay. But so is that, I guess, so okay, so in the future hopefully something related to that will come out. Right. Oh,
yes.
All right, I didn't know that about you. All right. So ever since I've known you, have cared about everyone and are constantly involved in everything that you can. Where did you learn to have this compassion for others? Where does that stem from?
I definitely say my family, and my mom in particular. I remember when I was maybe 7 and my sister was 8 or 9. I mean, we would always travel to Mexico, and one time that we went on Christmas break, she told us, she's like, okay, we're gonna go find a family that we can help. So we're just walking along the street in Mexico, and we see an older woman carrying like a wooden stick on her back with that was carrying a load, and she had 2 little girls with her. And so my mom stopped her and asked, it was Nochebuena, it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And my mom asked her, what are you guys doing today for Christmas Eve? And she told her, well, this is the food that we have. They had a plastic bag with 2 pieces of bread and some coffee. And so my mom gave her money for their Christmas meal.
Yeah.
And I think my mom just always instilled, helping others and not forgetting where you came from and who's helped you along the way. And so I think that's the example that I have to follow.
And hopefully continue doing it. Thank you for that. Is that still something you do as a family nowadays?
Yeah, we sponsor just different families, and my parents do a lot in both El Salvador and Mexico.
Okay. Where do you find joy?
Similar to a lot of my other answers, is
my faith, my family,
Yeah.
and my friends. I think just anytime that I am down, I can go back to God, to the Bible, to my friends, my family, and be re-energized. So
Is it hard to find?
no, it's not.
How easy is it?
I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be thankful for. So
Oh, that's a good one. All right. So we're about wrapping up the show. I want to play a quick little game with you. Thank you for being on the show today.
thank you for having me.
Our producer here is going to put 1 minute and 30 seconds on an invisible clock that you can't see or hear, but I will keep track of it. It's a little rapid fire game. It's 20 questions.
Okay.
Whatever pops up to your mind when I answer the question, when I ask the question, answer. Are you ready, Claudia Sandoval, to play a rapid fire game here on Behind the
Yes.
Curtain? Okay. So we're going to start the clock now. Okay, so chicken or steak?
Chicken.
The last movie you watched?
Desierto.
Desierto? Okay. The last person you went to dinner with?
LCLD.
Okay. Are you a thrill seeker?
Yes.
Coffee or tea?
T.
Who killed JFK?
Oswald.
Dinner date with any historical figure if possible?
Frida Kahlo.
Who's the best president we've ever had?
JFK.
JFK. Your house is burning. What's the one thing that you save?
My parents.
Nice one. That's a good one. What color describes you the best?
Blue.
Blue. What's the dumbest purchase you've ever made?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Shoes.
Shoes? Okay. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Are DJs just really good at making iTunes playlists and then just hitting play?
Yes.
25 seconds here. Single most valuable thing you've learned? Work hard.
What? Work hard.
Work hard. What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound?
Yeah.
Water.
Water. Okay. 10 seconds here. Have you ever won concert tickets from a radio station?
No.
Oh, have you ever caught in a foul ball at a baseball game?
No.
All right, that's it. Claudia Sandoval, thank you for playing that rapid fire game with us. And before we end the show, I guess my last question is, what's next for Claudia Sandoval?
Well, in the short term, I want to just keep shaking Cockrell Hill up in a good way and just keep working to improve the community. I don't have, well, I would say before Tuesday, I didn't have any aspirations of running for any higher office, but I think after the results of
that has
Tuesday,
changed. Okay.
I'm starting to think about it.
Oh, so okay, so
maybe one day.
You've heard it here first today. Thoughts are occurring about it, possibly a higher office when your term is up.
I don't know how soon, but
in the future,
I think it's more of a possibility now than it was before. Okay. More of a probability.
Okay. Well, Councilwoman Sandoval, I would like to thank you very much for being on our show today. Is there somewhere where the kids could follow you if they want to contact you or?
Yeah, we have a Twitter handle at Elex Sandoval, and we have a Facebook page, Claudia Sandoval for Cockrell Hill.
Okay, well, there you have it, folks. Thank you very much. This has been another episode of Behind the Curtain. I am your host, Andy Ortiz. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.